Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Back in 2020 I bought a 5 kilowatt Chinese diesel air heater and I fitted it just below the front lounge seats, and it stayed in this position for 2 winters and probably run for about 500 hours. But this heater ran so well and was so efficient that I decided I was going to install a dedicated larger fuel tank and reposition the heater inside one of the lower storage lockers on the motorhome. And it's been in this position now for another year. So all in all, I've had this for 3 years and I've worked out it's done about 1,500 hours of burn time since putting it in. But that was then. It's now summertime 2023, and I think after 1,500 hours of faultless service and faultless running, it's about time I gave that burner full service and actually had a look at what's going on inside. So that's today's video, a full strip down and service of this 5 kilowatt heater. Let's crack on. First job then is to remove this wooden cover that I put on to seal off the heater from the compartment. I've disconnected the fuel pump and the silencer from the exhaust and the electrics that are underneath, and these undone the 4 screws that hold it down, and it pulled out quite easily, and this is what's left in the compartment. So I've got it on the bench now, and there's a few signs of wear and tear, mainly weathering and a little bit of rusting. But I've got to get this old exhaust off first and the filter off. I'll probably reuse the filter and pipe, but the exhaust, I'm going to get a newer, longer one and reroute it to a different position under the van. So I won't be reusing this one. The hardest of the 3 pipes turned out to be the fuel line, and on inspection it turns out that the rubber parts had actually perished, so I'll renew all of these. Next, the securing plate that's on the bottom of the heater, that's just 4 screws, that comes off, and going by the marks on this plate, the exhaust must be leaking or must have leaked at some point. Then you just take off this rubber seal that goes between the heater and the securing plate, and looking at the exhaust outlet you can see there's definitely signs of the exhaust working its way down that pipe and possibly out. It's lucky really it's under the van, so there's no chance of any fumes entering the van itself. Getting to the burner's dead easy. Just unscrew this cap at the air in end and then the top section comes off. Nothing obviously wrong here except for the little bit of dust on the unit. Then you can release the main cable here from the body and gently tease out the unit from the lower part of the body. It's ready to be stripped down. So the first thing to do is remove the ECU, electronic control unit. This is the brains to the whole system. This all looks pretty secure, nothing hanging off, and you've got 3 other cables that you need to disconnect now to get it out of the way. You've got a 2-pin for the temperature sensor, a 4-pin for the glow plug, and a 3-pin for the DC motor, so you can't go wrong if you just take them off and don't even mark them. Next is the temperature sensor wire. You've got this little spring clip that's held in at either end, and it holds the ceramic sensor down hard on the body, and my one seems all clean and tidy, no cracks in the wire or anything, so I think this is fine. Now I want to disconnect the fan assembly. This is just 4 screws around the body, and there's a gasket between the 2 aluminium surfaces. Then it's just a case of gently removing it, and it comes away quite easily. And give it a little spin, make sure there's no funny noises and it moves freely. If yours has got a little chip on it like mine, don't panic. This is done deliberately to help balance the turbine. The turbine is the brown section The black section at the other end is simply the impeller fan that draws air through the unit. And the next job is to take the burn chamber out, but before you do that you've got to remove the actual glow plug, and that's set inside here. Quite difficult to get to from the top, but once you're in this position and you've got the fan assembly out of the way, you can simply attack it with the spanner and gently unscrew it. Don't go too mad, these cables are quite delicate, especially if you intend to reuse the glow plug. And in my case the glow plug seems in pretty good condition actually. There's no untoward marks on it, no burns or lumps out of it, so I'm quite happy with this.
Amazingly good condition.
And finally you can take out the burn chamber. It's just got these 4 small screws, and there's also a gasket between the burn chamber and the combustion chamber here. And like the fan assembly, just gently pull it out, it will come out nice and easy. And that's the burn chamber, and you can give it a good inspection now. And also in the burn chamber where the glow plug glows, there's this gauze filter. It's actually an atomizer for the diesel, and you can get a little pick tool that will take it out, but this is something you've definitely got to replace when you service these heaters. If we have a look inside the combustion chamber, there's actually very little carbon build-up on the fins at all. It's really quite clean and not too much around the exhaust. But the main concern obviously here is the gasket. You can see it's perished and it's all cracked, and that will definitely have to be replaced. I'm really pleased at the condition of this this combustion chamber. There is precious little carbon build-up inside on these fins. In fact, it will just need a light wire brush. The main bit to look for is any carbon or any blockages in the exhaust, and obviously there's nothing blocked in there, but I'll give that a good scrub out as well. I gave the combustion chamber and the burn chamber a bit of a tap out on the bench, and quite a few burnt and solidified metal filings came out. Around this burn chamber here there's also another stainless steel mesh that runs right around it. That can easily clog up as well, so if you're concerned about that, or if there's signs that it's doing it, or if there's any build up inside like mine here, there's little bits where the carbon has really solidified on the fins, on the metal inside, just get yourself a blowtorch. And I've probably done this about 5 or 6 times before all the small bits eventually fell out. And the burn chamber, again, is in pretty good condition. The only thing is the shape has gone to oval, but I can't really see that occurring during the burn process. I reckon this was, this was the original shape of it. Someone squidged it a bit, but it hasn't caused any harm. Now you've also got a very small hole just here. You want to make sure that's not blocked up in any way. And the atomizing filter that fits down in there and surrounds the glow plug. The old one, I'll just throw that away. I've got some new ones on order. Always best to put a brand new one in. That is probably the single most thing that will clog up first of all, because the fuel has to go in there and pass through that before it gets into the burn chamber, so that is a must to be renewed. So I'm going to replace the atomizing filter, and I'm going to replace the glow plug that goes down there inside it. This glow plug actually is in pretty good condition. Sometimes you'll see a big build up along here, and even bits and pieces out of it where it degrades, but I might as well change it while I can. And the only thing on this fan and turbine assembly is dust really. There's nothing that would inhibit the flow of air through to the burn chamber, so it's again, it's in pretty good condition. There's no, I mean, I can hear a very faint bearing sound, but you probably can't hear it. No matter, and I'll put it close. But that sounds pretty good to me. You can't take this apart. That shaft that goes through there to there is a press fit on the fan and the turbine. But it all seems okay, running smoothly. Happy with that. So these are all your parts: combustion chamber, burn chamber, fan assembly, glow plug, ECU and temperature sensor. So this is the principle of these air heaters. There's a 12 volt DC motor here that turns this shaft, where you've got the fan on this end and essentially what's like a turbo on this end. Now the fan has got draws air in through here and it blows it across this motor to keep it cool. It also draws the air in out of the outer fins out and across the body of the heater, and it's positioned like that, so as it turns it will draw the air, the fresh air, in through here, and it comes out and it's aligned with these little fins on the back of the burner housing. The false air in there, your fuel comes through here, is heated up, is mixed with the air, and it swirls around and comes out here into the combustion chamber. Now really this is just like a great big blowtorch, and when this is all hot enough, the glow plug goes off and you've got a self-sustaining flame. So once you've got ignition and the flame itself is belting out of the burn chamber here, what happens is the flame comes out here, hits the back of the combustion chamber and goes around. So it goes around this piece, then the exhaust gases all come out through the exhaust vent. So all I've got to do now is clean up all the deposits that are left inside the burn chamber and the combustion chamber. I've got these 3 little wire brushes, coarse, medium and fine, and also a rotary wire brush. Got them from Amazon. I think there's about a tenner. So let's crack on. Here's a top tip: don't clean the exhaust out with a wire brush like this. Fucking thing out now. Oh, you dick. In the end I had to resort to violence, but I got the wire brush out eventually. Everything wiped clean, all the dust off it, and it's as good as new. Just got to put it all back together again now. So the new gasket goes in first, and then the burn chamber. Make sure that this part, the rubber seal, is correctly located. If you're using an electric screwdriver like me, don't go all the way in, you'll strip the threads. Use these small screws and just hand screw them in and tighten them down so they're all about the same torque. Double check that that rubber seal is firmly seated in. You don't want no air leaks coming from this. I've also bought this service kit from Amazon. Cost about 12 quid. Consists of a glow plug, new atomizer, and a couple of gaskets. Really that's all you need to replace. And in the kit you also get a set of tools. You get this little pick tool, which is really good because when it comes to taking out the atomizer, you can go in and it just draws it out like that. And there's also this socket that comes with the the kit, it's got this slot that's milled along the body, and it goes over the cables, here, and allows you to go onto the actual glow plug and turn it without having to disturb any of the wires. That's quite good. And the handle that comes with the socket also doubles up as like an insertion tool for the atomizer. And once that's in, it's just a case of fitting the glow plug. I use the new socket tool for this. Just tightened it up, just nipped it up. Make sure that the rubber seal on top is in properly and properly sealed, the same as the other rubber seal is fully airtight. The fan assembly gasket needed prizing off, cleaning up and fine wire brushing before fitting the new one. But the assembly goes together. Use the longer screws for this, and the same as with the burn chamber, lightly tighten down with a screwdriver and then hand torque up with an Allen key. Don't overdo it. Next, give the base of the combustion chamber a clean and the ceramic heat sensor a clean, and just clip it in place with a spring clip. Then just reconnect the 3 cables onto the ECU and position it back onto the body of the burner and lightly torque up the holding screw. And that's it really. Give the inside of the housing a bit of a clean and tuck the burner back into the housing. This cable can go either side, so if you want your cable on the opposite side, it's always possible. And finally, just snap the top back on, clean the retaining cap, screw it on, and you're done. I want to fit the fuel line before this goes in, because this is very difficult to get to once it's in position. But I'm also going to renew this section of fuel line, because if you remember earlier on, I mentioned it was perished and looking a bit dodgy. When you push this nylon pipe into the rubber pipe, you need to mark it. Now, if you mark it here halfway along the rubber pipe, when that goes onto the pickup pipe here, it needs to push in and push all the way and touch the pipe, so there's no gap. If it doesn't, if you've got a massive gap like this, what's going to happen is this solid pipe doesn't move, but this bit where there's a gap will pulse with the pulsing of the pump, and it can create air bubbles, an incorrect fuel mixture. So always mark your nylon pipe, put it in, and then push that assembly right down until the 2 bits touch right here, halfway along, and do that for every connection that goes from nylon to rubber. Make sure there's no gaps. And finally, I'm just assembling the air intake and the exhaust. I'll clamp them up because again they're quite difficult to get to once they're in situ, and once that's done I'll go and fit it in the van. So I've reinstalled the heater now, it's back inside the van. I've put a temperature sensor probe on the outlet vent just to see and make sure obviously it's getting really up to temperature. All I've got to do now is turn it on. And the burner will go through its warm-up process. And the fan turns on and the glow plug, and then followed by the pump. And then once the glow plug goes off, you've got a self-sustaining flame, and it will just slowly creep up to full temperature. This takes about 3 to 4 minutes. And it's hovering at just under 100 degrees. So the output temperature of the air, and that's about as close as I can put my hand, about a foot away before it's before it burns you really. A quick CO2 test then. This is about 3 or 4 inches from the exhaust. 37 parts per million. And if I can shut it up, that's it. Yeah, that's really good. The mixture's running nice and clean. So that's the heater fully installed. I've run it up, tested it. It's now gone through its shutdown process and it's off. So I'm fully confident that it's good for another 1500 hours of faultless service. These diesel heaters really are very good. So I think I'll end the video here, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that it's helped you. If you have liked the video, maybe consider subscribing and giving it a thumbs up. But for now, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next Wrinkly Nomads video. Bye for now.